Roll4Crit.com presents How to Play Eldritch Horror in 5 minutes or less or more. Eldritch Horror is a cooperative game based on the stories of H.P. Lovecraft in which you and your friends are just a bunch of average folk in the 1920s trying to get by fighting off the soulless demons of other dimensions. Published by Fantasy Flight and designed by Corey Koneska and Nikki Valens. Inspired by Arkham Horror. Inspired by, of course, in this context meaning almost exactly the same as. The goal of Eldritch Horror is to solve 3 mystery cards before the evil Ancient One awakens. Each mystery card will contain a different quest that you and your partners must work together to complete. The first thing you'll do is choose a character to play as. You could choose Jim Culver, but that would be stupid because he's a musician. What good is a musician going to do you in the war against the Elder Gods? Instead, you should pick Mark Harrigan. He's a soldier. Far more sensible. Each character has their own stats, including health and sanity points and various other traits and abilities. On the back of the card, you'll find their starting items, as well as where they begin on the board. You'll also need to choose an Ancient One to be your boss monster. Let's go with something more or less harmless and innocuous, like Cthulhu. The Ancient Ones will have their own special setup instructions listed on their cards, plus their own special decks. Just look for the decks with your chosen monster's picture on the back, and throw all the other lame ones back in the box. The number in the top left corner of his card is where the Doom token starts on the Doom track. Various effects will cause the token on the Doom track to advance. You can tell that this is bad because it's called the Doom track. Next, you'll need to separate the regular horrifying monsters from these red-colored extremely horrifying monsters and place them in an opaque container of some kind to be drawn randomly later on. Or you can just keep them in a clear plastic bag and close your eyes and hope for the best. Of course, there are a bunch of other decks to set up, like this many, and you'll need to place some things on the board according to the number of players as seen on this reference card, like clue tokens and gates. Are we having fun yet? The core mechanic of Eldritch Horror is tests. Tests. Tests are how you'll determine whether or not you're successful in attempting to thwart a monster, buy an item, or really do anything at all ever. Specific cards or monsters will tell you to make a test based on one of your character's listed skills. See the number next to each skill symbol? That's how many dice you get to roll on a test. So if your strength is 4 on a strength test, you get to roll 4 dice. In order to get a success, you'll need to roll a 5 or a 6. A 5 or a 6 is considered one success. Anything else is not. Generally, you only need one success to pass a test, but multiple successes may be preferable or required in some cases. If you don't like any of your results, you can always spend a clue token to re-roll one of them, if you have any clue tokens. So now that the basics are out of the way, here's how the game's played. There are 3 phases in each round: actions, encounters, and mythos. In the actions phase, each player takes turns performing actions. The player with the lead investigator token goes first. You can perform 2 actions total, but you may not repeat the same action twice. One action you can perform is travel. You can move to one adjacent space. So here, you can move to here, or here, but not here. One space and you're done. What if you want to move 2 spaces? Well, you'll need a travel ticket. As a separate action, if you are on a city space, indicated by the space that looks like a city, you can get one of these coveted tickets. The type of ticket you can receive depends on the pathways connected to your current space. If you're connected to a waterway, you can get a ship ticket. To a railroad, a train ticket. Now you can spend one of these special tickets as part of your travel action in order to move an extra space, assuming that space is connected by the appropriate path. Great job. If you're on one of the aforementioned city spaces, you can also, as an action, attempt to buy something from the reserve. To do so, you make an influence test. See those numbers in the corner of the cards in the reserve? Well, that's how many successes you would need to purchase them. So on a roll of 2 successes, you can buy 1 card that costs 2, or 2 cards that cost 1 each. This is what's known as doing math. There's no limit to the number of items you can carry, though in combat you can only use 1 weapon at a time. Of course, you can use an action to perform anything on your character sheet or a card you're holding with the word action in front of it. I shouldn't have to tell you that. That should really just be common sense. Another action. If you're on a space with another player, you can trade items or possessions with each other. Although I doubt Jim Culver will have anything of value to give you, he's a musician. And final action. If you've just got nothing else to do or you're tired, you can rest. You regain 1 health and 1 sanity when you do this, unless you're at max health and sanity, in which case, why would you do that? That's weird. Next up is the encounters phase. This is when crazy stuff happens to each player one at a time. Depending on the space you're on and whether or not there are any tokens on it, you resolve some sort of encounter. If you're on a space with 1 or more monsters, you must fight it or them one at a time. To fight a monster, flip that sucker over. First, you'll make a will test to see how horrified you are. If that number next to the brain there is higher than your successes, you lose sanity in the amount of the difference. Same goes for the next step, only it's a strength test and you potentially lose health. but you do 1 point of damage to the monster for each success you roll on this test. If you do more damage than its toughness number in the top right corner, it dies. Otherwise, it just kinda hangs out, wounded, waiting for someone else to drop by. Remember, you'll probably have cards that add bonuses to your attacks and checks during these encounters. If you're on a space with a clue token, gate token, expedition token, or rumor token, you draw the appropriate card and resolve it according to the text on the back that applies to your current location. If you successfully resolve a clue card, you gain the clue. On a gate, you close the gate. On a rumor, you stop harmful rumor cards from affecting you. If you're not on a space with any monsters or tokens, you just draw a boring regular encounter card according to the section of the board that you're in and resolve that. In case you haven't caught on yet, nearly all of these encounters will involve skill tests. The final phase is Mythos. This is when terrible things happen to everyone forever. Lead investigator draws a Mythos card. First, resolve all of the symbols on the card, which could result in any of the following: the Omen token moving, the Doom track advancing, new gates spawning, new monsters spawning, new clues spawning, a rumor token being placed, Eldritch tokens being placed on the Mythos card, or anything with this red symbol triggering. In case you haven't caught on yet, nearly all of this stuff is bad. Once that's taken care of, you read the actual card, and either something happens right away, or the card stays out and has an ongoing effect. At the end of each Mythos phase, the lead investigator decides whether they want to continue being the lead investigator, or if they want to pass the job onto some other unlucky sap. Then, you start again at Phase 1. There are a couple of other effects in the game, such as being delayed, which basically means that you lose a turn. You can also get condition cards, which will make things even more difficult. Oh, and you can die. If your health or sanity points reach 0, you bite the proverbial dust and must choose a new character who will be free to go back and loot your old body's corpse. Ideally, you'll solve all 3 mysteries before the Doom track reaches 0 and win the game. Otherwise, the Ancient One awakens, you flip its card, and you must solve the final mystery. The final mystery being, why am I still playing this game? It's been 5 hours and I've died twice, and what was a zombie even doing in Shanghai? In conclusion, take action, encounter strange worlds and characters, solve mysteries, and generally just roll a lot of dice. That's Eldritch Horror. Did you get all that?